This episode is brought to you by Alpha Elite Performance, a veteran-owned supplement nutrition company geared towards improving your performance with quality, performance-based product you can trust. To learn more, find Alpha Elite Performance on social media and alphaeliteperformance.com. And now, to the Kensington Corner.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to Kensington Corner. Tom here. Today, I had the honor of having former Ranger Neal Currey, founder of Ready Gunner, 2A Media. Neal, how you doing today, man?
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
No, I'm excited, man. we've been following you for a little bit now. And as we start kind of piecing together like people we want to have on, it was I know before we hopped on air, we were talking about the coronavirus. This has kind of been the perfect storm for us to start like actually reaching out and being like, hey man, cause I don't have a schedule now. I'm just doing my own business at home. And I was like, man, I can actually get Neal on. You have a pretty much like, I tell all the guys that come on, they kind of have a cult following, but you definitely do.
Yeah, I did. Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, we're one of the lucky ones in the industry right now during the whole coronavirus thing. It seems that, and I hate saying it because they always ask you, hey, how's business doing? And it's always after some kind of, our business thrives after unfortunate events, as I would call them, like the coronavirus, shootings and things of that sort, because people get scared, like incidents. And we had a 5.7 earthquake here like 3 weeks ago. And
I saw
after that, the store was booming again. Like anytime something tragic or bad happens, people kind of go and think, hey, safety. And obviously guns fall into that realm, and I need to protect my family. And I need to, like, if shit hits the fan, I need to have something at home to defend ourselves. And they come see us, and we're happy to provide them with that safety. But you never like to say, or like, yeah, the business is booming thanks to the coronavirus, because obviously we would like it under different circumstances for sure.
Right. Yeah, no, this whole thing, man, after the whole toilet paper kind of take off, guns were the next thing. Weapons were really the next thing people thought of. And I think a lot of people started looking at it and they looked around. I think it was the first time a lot of people got to be in their home, and look around and was like, what's the one thing I'm really missing? Oh, wow. Yeah. We don't even have any self-defense. Like, cause it's all fun and games to talk on Facebook and the memes and stuff and be like, oh, all these people hoarding toilet paper, like, well, I'm hoarding ammo. So like, don't worry about it. That's funny. It's great to say that, but realistically, when it comes down to some type of apocalyptic setting where you have to defend your family against somebody else, if you don't have anything, like, how are you going to do that? Especially in America.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things I tell people, because you hear it a lot. It's like, why do you need a gun? Why do you need this type of gun? Why do you need that much ammo? Why do you need this and that? And it's like, well, why do you have car insurance, or why do you have home insurance? Why do you have those things? Like, I know you're not going out and planning on driving your car into like a bridge or another car or this or that. It's like, but sometimes shit happens, sometimes these unforeseen circumstances take place where, hey, someone rear-ended you or sideswiped you or hit you. And that's why we have insurances for those just in case scenarios. And like the guns are the same thing. It's like, look, honestly, I think everybody should have a gun in their home.
Yes.
I have a gun in every single car of mine. I have one I carry on my person, and I have like 3 at my house, and obviously like probably 150 at work. But it's like I have those in case I need them. I don't hop in my car and grab my gun and start, throwing it around the air and be like, oh, look at this bad boy. I have it there just in case something. It usually just stays in my center console and never moves. But if some kind of situation arises where I'm like, my worst nightmare is finding myself in a scenario or a situation where I'm like, I wish I would have had a gun. If I would have had my gun, then I could have prevented harm upon my family. I could have prevented harm upon, some friendly bystander, or stopped some bad guy from doing something horrible and saved lives. Like, that is my worst fear. Be like, man, I probably could have saved like 10 lives, a dozen lives, a single life, if I just would have had my gun with me, And I think it's times like this, you're right, where people kind of see the bigger picture, where they're like, you know what, the government isn't going to protect me. Like, I didn't know that. People have always said the government it's not their responsibility to protect me or my family. Like, that's not their job. That's your job. That's the household protector, is the man of the family, or the single mom, or whoever it is. And right now where it's like, hey, they're letting inmates out of prison because they don't want to spread the coronavirus. And they're like, well, but they're not violent criminals. They're just blue collar guys. And it's like, well, they're in jail for something.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, we're not having police respond to certain calls anymore just because it's too high risk for them. So it's like, yeah, you're kind of on your own in those types of scenarios. Sorry, guys. And it's like, holy shit, like all this stuff that these two conservatives have been talking about where the government's not going to protect me is actually happening.
Yeah. I
was like, maybe I should buy it.
Yeah, I saw Colin put up something about how Dallas police were no longer responding to breaking and enterings. And
yeah, great.
That's insane. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you really think about it, that's insane for, I mean, God, that's the thing too. Imagine being a father of three and somebody breaking your house, you know, two dudes breaking your house with a gun and you don't have anything to defend yourself with. There's nothing, you know, more like sinister than the feeling of helplessness, you know?
Yep. And then all the food storage people where it's like, no, man, I got everything I need. I got like a year of food storage in here. And you're like, dude, that's awesome. Good for you. Way to be prepared and be ahead of the curve with all this shit in the fan. But it's like, oh, so what do you have? What do you have in your arsenal? Like, do you have a gun with any ammo? And they're like, oh no, I don't need that. And it's like, dude, that food storage could be gone overnight.
Yeah, easily. I run in circles around it because I just, one, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to be trained on something and have it just in case, because, you know, a lot of people on the outside that don't understand what a lot of us 2A conservatives look like is, I think for some reason they have this picture of like, there was like 10 years ago, they had that the Michigan Mafia was putting up like photos of them just like blasting pumpkins, you know, and it was just like all these out of shape dudes, like, you know, just doing whatever with guns. And I think that is like the stigma that people that they like the anti-gun people are trying to like push out. They're like, we're all just like these gun toting, just like wild cowboys. Like, dude, most of the time, not even most, 100% of the time that I'm carrying, nobody knows I'm carrying. I'm not out here in the streets flashing my pistol around. Like it's absolutely maddening. And I think you're right. I mean, I have something on me at all times, no matter what. And it's not because I'm some kind of gun hard on, like, oh, I'm going to flash this gun. But at the same time, if somebody pulls something out, man, I want to be able to defend not only myself, but those around me, you know? The podcast that I just did prior to this one, we were talking about the fight or flight response. And most people don't realize, unless you've been in a situation like that before, the fight or flight, there's an actual third option, and it's called freezing. And most people in those positions, they absolutely freeze up. So why would I not want to be the one who knows what I'm doing and not be, you know, and be able to save lives?
I know. I think there's all these anti-gun people right now that are so pissed off with everything going on because they're seeing a lot of their colleagues kind of jump on the gun bandwagon and kind of see the bigger picture of, yeah, I kind of see where these guys were going at, you know, they call it the great equalizer, right? Where it's like, look, I just want something just in case. I'm not going to go. I feel like they think if they buy a gun and they start getting training on it, like they're afraid they're going to start liking it.
Right.
You know, they're like, I don't want to like guns. And I feel if I got one and I got trained on it, I would be like, oh, you know what? This actually makes sense. Yeah. Like I can see why guys want to have a gun and get trained on it. And it makes me have this sense of empowerment and self-control, and I can defend myself and I'm not going to get hurt and I can take care of my family. And now that fear is gone. Yeah. I don't want to like guns, so I don't want to buy one. I
would say most people who are anti-gun have never shot a gun before. I mean, from my experience.
You're absolutely right. We've seen so many, probably more so in the history of our business, first-time gun buyers come to the store and approach us at the counter. And I can't tell you how many times, dozens and dozens and dozens of times in the last 3 weeks, where the first thing that people say is like, hey, how can we help you? And they're like, hey, so I don't know anything about guns. I'm a first-time gun buyer. I've never shot a gun. I've never owned a gun. I know nothing about guns, but I'm looking to get a gun. What do you recommend? Yeah. Like that sentence has been spoken over the counter here at Ready Gunner so many times in the last 3 to 4 weeks. It's been insane, which is great. And then obviously we you know, everyone's always like, everyone thinks there's like this one handgun that's for everybody. Like, what's the gun? Like, what's the gun I should get? The one size fits all, the best gun out there. Like, give me that one. Which one is that one? Show it to me on the counter. we're like, well, man, there is no such thing. Like, let me show you a few, get a hold on it, grip it. Let's take you to the range, have you shoot a few, and then you're going to tell us which one you like the best.
Yep.
Okay. And they're like, oh yeah, I thought it was this one. When I was at the counter, I held the Glock 43X and it felt great. But when I went and shot him, it was actually the P365 that I really liked. It shot really well. It felt good. And the recoil management was great for me. I want to get that one, And the other thing too is they're like, man, that was so cool. Like, that was awesome. Like, way different than what I was expecting. Like, that was such a good time. And you see them, like, when you first put the gun in their hand, they kind of have like this nervous look on their face. They're a little timid, and you're helping them adjust their grip and show them how to paint or point the gun, and just kind of go through all the basic fundamentals of shooting. And the first few rounds are like, real timid, pulling the trigger. And as they go down, like their 10 or 15 round magazine, they're just like, boom, boom. And like toward the end of the magazine, they got this smile on their face, and they're like, boom, boom, boom. And they're like, that was awesome. Like, you got more ammo?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
I want to hit on too with what you're talking about with, I think you're right. I get asked all the time, like, hey man, like, what do you carry? Right. And I'm pretty honest with that. I carry that 9mm shield I was telling you about. I think it's the best compact for my body. I'm also 6'4", 220. Right. And so I don't think that people realize, for me, I look at buying a gun kind of like I look at like buying a sports coat or a dress shirt or something, right? I look at it like how it fits my body type, how I can move with it, what my grip looks like while holding it. How do I look like when I break grip and reestablish my grip? There's so many things that go into buying a gun that I don't think people realize. And it's not just, hey, that looks cool, that's the one I want. And I would say that the majority of gun owners who have zero training, that's kind of what they base stuff off of. Like, man, I've heard about this and that looks cool. That's what I really want. I'm a big Glock 19, Glock 17 guy, but at the same time, I just rarely ever carry it because I think that the shield feels better to me. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. And it's funny you say that because I think that's huge. Because one of the main questions I get from people all the time is like, what gun should I buy? And I'm like, well, man, you should try out like 5 or 6 first, to be honest. I mean, 3 at the minimum.
Absolutely. And like I said, you don't really know until you shoot them. Like, you can hold them, and which is important. Like, if you go to a gun store that doesn't have a shooting range, then that's what you got to do. You just got to go with, hey, this one feels the best to me, kind of thing,
Right.
But if you can shoot them, I would highly, highly recommend shooting, because I'd say almost half of the people that hold the gun and they feel like that's the one, go into the range, shoot a few other, and they actually end up picking a different gun.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about Mike Glover, and when they, the Fieldcraft Survival, they do those actual like shooting ranges out, they go around and do stuff. And it is mind blowing how many first time guys that they have out there who are shooting different type of rifles. And they're like, man, I didn't expect it, 1, to feel the way it did, and 2, for it to kind of be as easy as it is. I mean, there's so many repetition things that go into training, but at the same time, it's a very simple process. There's a lot of complex issues that go into it, but actually training on a firearm is very simple.
Yeah. People don't understand. And like we were talking about earlier as well, where it's like people find a gun they want, they take it. And then we always try to, it's hard because we always try to push people to training where it's like, look, you've never, like you told us when you first got here, you have no experience with the gun. Like, we highly, highly recommend you take a basic handgun course.
Right.
We have a basic handgun course. It's like $50. It's nothing. It's a 2-day course. The first one's done in the classroom. You go through the principles of shooting, and then we'll spend the second day shooting in the shooting range here at the store.
Right. Yeah. I put out.
And everyone's like, oh, like, some people jump right on it, which is awesome, but some people are like, yeah, well, we'll look at it, and then, they're never going to sign up, and they're taking this gun home, and it's like, man, I would really wish you would get some training with that thing. But
no, I actually put out on social media when about day 3 or 4 of this, when I first saw the uptick in gun sales, I actually put out like I won't even call it like a PCA, but like a PSA, but like an actual, just like, hey, if you're in my area, or you're in the Kansas City area, you're in the Midwest, and you're down here, I can come to you, whatever. I was like, dude, just stop by my place. I'll do dry fire drills with you. Like, as much as I can with my limited knowledge, my small percentage of knowledge of any kind of gun training. I'll help you. Because to me, man, that's the craziest thing in the world. That would be like, to me, you know, never seeing a car before and then just going to the dealership and buying the fastest thing you can, you know, and not even being like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to drive off with this now. Like, there's got to be, at some point, you got to, if you're going to take responsibility for buying a gun, you have to take the responsibility as well as training for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. And I don't want to say it should be mandatory, but
No.
I think people should highly consider it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it should be mandatory.
I think they would, like we talked about earlier, I think they would actually enjoy the course, enjoy it, and probably, you know, bring their friends and family to the next one.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, that's the thing too, is that, like, I don't know, man, there's so many positives to the firearms conversation that sometimes when I see the negatives, it's, and I don't want to get too political on it, but I hate how they prey on the negative parts of it. But for me, there's so many positives that go into it. I've built so many friendships and so much camaraderie off of, you know, firearms in general, whether it be conversation, whether it be training with, whether it be, you know, helping. I've had friends that have gone with me and bought before, or I've helped friends bought before. And one of the big things I did this last year was I taught, that basically one of the sororities here did a women's self-defense month. So they, like, the whole month, it was like an anti-battery month, but also women's self-defense. So they did like a jujitsu class with us. They did a firearms class with us, and the look on a 19-year-old woman's face who's never shot a gun before at a liberal university, and watching like the actual pure joy and excitement of shooting a gun and being like, wow, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. It's probably one of my favorite faces I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too that I've always told people. It's like, and I think Instagram's kind of really changed the way we look at things, and kind of given us this distorted reality of what self-defense should be, or how you can become some gun expert, or drop from the holster in 0.06 seconds and hit your target.
Right.
Where it's like, hey, well, let's talk about fitness for a minute. Like, if there was some kind of evolutionary standard of becoming some gun runner or some guy who's proficient in self-defense, gun operator, whatever you want to call it. It's like, it all starts at the fitness level. Look at the military, it all comes to fitness. It's like, right. You have these guys who are way out of shape who are like, man, I can shoot this, 9mm pistol from my holster in 0.08 seconds and hit a target at 25 yards. It's like, yeah, but you can't run like a quarter mile, bro.
yeah, you're not. You can do it. It's well, and that's the other thing too. It's very, very easy to hit a non-moving target while not moving yourself. Like, I always think about that too. If you just talk about pure one-on-one, right? We'll just for fuck's sake, we'll just talk about a pure one-on-one. If you're an obese human being and you have a quicker draw than I do, I'm probably still going to outmaneuver you. Like, it's still probably going to happen, man. And I don't know. I get so caught up in the obesity. I'm a huge advocate for how bad obesity is in America. And I don't think that people, I'll let you continue, but it just triggered me for a minute.
Yeah, it's almost, and I'm here to, like, I want to uplift people. I want to help people. I don't want to put anybody down. And some of these things you say come across as like you being an asshole or you trying to put people down. It's like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm trying to help you.
Right.
And you doing all this stuff and making these videos on Instagram, it's great. And the fact that you're a killer shot is awesome. And that is great. But there are other fundamentals and foundations that you got to work on as well. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that because it's harder. It's not as cool as making a video on Instagram and putting it out and letting people know how cool you are at shooting. It's like, hey, nobody wants to see a video of me hitting the squat rack or running up in the hills or doing this or that. But,
no, yeah, my old...
And it's more difficult. It's like, man, that takes a lot of time, work, and effort. Like, going to the gym for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, that's rough. I just want to go to the range and shoot. It's like, you gotta, if you're gonna be that person and you're gonna sell yourself as that person, then you got to be that person. You got to be the whole package.
Yep. No, I agree. My former roommate, man, Sam Bartlett, he's out in Pittsburgh now with CSC, just basically doing gun stuff. And he's a second bat guy as well. And that's one of his big things, is that he does a lot of his videos as far as not only gun training but tourniquet training, things like that. But one things that he does is that he implements a lot of the brute force sandbags. He implements training in those and how they relate to gun ownership. And he'll do little things like, whether it's like, hey, like move, shoot, and then while I'm moving, dragging this 50-pound sandbag, right? So he'll do things like that. And the thing I love about Sam is that he does so many videos of actual him in real time moving. And it shows, I think he shows, the dexterity of how actually shooting and moving is supposed to work. And a lot of guys, I don't feel like, do that. And you're right. It's one thing to throw up a video and it's great. You're right that they have these shots, but there's so much more that goes into it. And I don't think that it's not a fraud life. I don't want to call people frauds, man. But at the same time, like, if you're not training to be a complete individual, but you're selling yourself as that, it's kind of fraudulent.
Yeah, and it's like, look, man, if you've ever been in combat or been in a situation like that, like, you would understand how much fitness comes into play, you know? And people are like, well, I'm not going to need to run like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 miles, like I operate in my little area of operation, and I'm going to stay here. And it's like, it usually doesn't play out like that.
No.
And you would actually be surprised how exhausted you get within a 10-foot space when your adrenaline alone will drain you.
Yeah.
It'll drain the energy out of you, And it's like, you're doing your little sidestep from one spot to another. You live in 10 feet. But you're in this elevated environment, and you got all this adrenaline that people are shooting at you. Like, that alone requires you to be physically fit. That alone will suck the energy out of you.
I would say that
you don't have to be running a mile or two.
Yeah, that adrenaline will suck it out of you. People, I mean, you got to think too what you're compensating for as well, right? So adrenaline, on top of that, the gear that you have on, what you're carrying. A lot of people who are training aren't carrying that gear. If you're out here shooting, you're not carrying that. And the thing is too, is that it's under what circumstances, which ties into the adrenaline. It's one thing to sit at a range and shoot, and that's fun and it's great and it's good for our repetition. But to actually move under those circumstances while somebody else is firing at you or while you're in imminent danger, it's different, man. And then, that's why you talk about dudes training, like to go to Afghanistan, man, that elevation change will smack you in the fucking face quicker than anything in the world.
Yeah, luckily I live in Utah, so when I went to Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, you're good to go, dude.
Actually, I take that back, because when I went to Afghanistan, I was stationed in Fort Lewis, which is at sea level. So
yeah, sucking. Yeah, no. I speaking of Utah, doing the SFRE, the pure, the pre SFAS, selection thing for 19th group. I'm over here in Kansas at like 80 feet sea level, and they send me all the information. They're like, oh yeah, the 5-mile runs at 4,800, and the 12-mile ruck goes up to like 5,900 or something like that. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's
the stuff I'm talking about,
Yeah. But no, I don't think people take that into accountability either, man. And it's, but yeah, if you're listening to this, I'm not shitting on anyone. I love that people are putting that out there, and I'm not trying to be negative towards anyone. I would just love to see more, flexibility in your training and what you're doing. And I think guys like your Instagram page really highlights that, man. You have, you can tell that you're very professional about what you're doing. And I know I asked you before, I'm curious about you and your wife's relationship, man, because she seems very supportive of what you're doing. And, likewise, you're very supportive of what she's doing with the fitness stuff. I think that you guys have a pretty cool dynamic as far as what a marriage should look like.
Yeah, we do a good job of portraying that on Instagram, don't we?
Yeah, on Instagram. Yeah, it looks great, man. Just so you know, that your life looks amazing on Instagram.
Yeah, no, Casey is an amazing woman. I mean, she is very supportive. We kind of threw her into the fire, and she wears most of the hats here at Ready Gunner. I mean, she does our HR, our hiring, our firing. She manages the Black Rifle coffee shop we have in the store. She manages the inventory for that. She even does the barista sometimes, when people are lucky, Casey, they're making them coffee. So she does a lot of the work here at Ready Gunner, controls the marketing, the email campaigns. I mean, I can go on. The list is forever. I won't tell you everything she does, but she is super supportive. And people ask us all the time, like, how do you guys work together? Like, man, I would kill my wife, or my wife would kill me if we worked together. You know, we have those days, right? We have those days. But honestly, we come to work and she has her list of tasks and I have mine. And like 5 o'clock comes around, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever time it is, we leave that day. And I'm like, oh, hey, babe, it's good to see you. How was your day? Like, tell me about your day.
Right.
Like, even though we're here at the store together, we're doing separate things and we'll cross paths, but we're busy working on our jobs. But anyway, she's awesome.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool because I think that, you know, we talk a lot about like better mental health and guys transitioning out and stuff. And I love that she plays such a vital role in what you're doing, because I tell people, if you're going to be committed in a relationship, man, actually be committed, try to make it work. And I love the dynamic that you guys have, because it's very, it's a very supportive kind of thing. And I think that for most people, that's kind of what they wish they had. And so for me, it's like, man, that's awesome. Like that's something that I think you should aspire to be, in a relationship wise, is supportive of each other the way you guys are.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think it's any different than, being at home with your wife and the way you should treat your wife.
Right.
In front of your kids, and that, like, you're trying to set some kind of a standard, be a role model to your children. And like, look, I want my kids to know, whether it's my daughters or my sons, like, hey, sons, this is how you should treat your wife, or daughters, this is how your husband should treat you when you get married or you find that one you're looking for. And it's like, it's hard to tell your kids something when you do something else. Where it's like, hey, sweetie, I want that. This is what your husband or your boyfriend, this is how they need to treat you. And you don't want them to ever come back and be like, well, Dad, that's not how you treat Mom, or that's not how you talk to Mom.
Yeah. No,
right?
I agree.
So you need to build that foundation and have some kind of credibility to be able to instill the kind of discipline you want into your kids, and be able to back that up with your own efforts.
Yeah, I think that even extends further than marriage. I think that with everything like that, when you're trying to instill something in your kid, it's very hard to be, especially in today's world, man. Like with guys like us, you're throwing basically I won't say your whole life, but you're throwing parts of your life out on social media. So at some point there's got to be, you have to live up to that standard that you set for yourself. And I feel like at any point, man, if you're kind of not, especially if you're portraying somebody, outside of what you're doing, and your family sees that and they don't feel the reciprocation back to them, then it's confusing. I've had, I've even had to reevaluate myself sometimes. Jordan, sometimes she'll tell me that I'm nicer to like people on the podcast, or nicer to people that I'm doing business with, than I am to her. And I have to be like, fuck, is that some self-reflection that I need to look at? Or, is she being sensitive? I don't know. But for me, it's like, yeah, that's actually probably true. And I should probably kind of like, reevaluate, what I'm thinking or what I'm doing.
Yeah. So pride, I think, is a big, pride is a funny word. It's a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's like, you need to have pride, but you can't be prideful.
Right. Right.
You need to have pride in your work, but you can't be arrogant about it. You can't be cocky. You can't be too proud, or it makes you look like an asshole. So it's like, when it comes to marriage, like, pride is one of those things where it's like, look, you need to have pride in your work and everything you do. But when you have communications with your wife, where she gives you some kind of a recommendation, or tries to tell you to do something, or say we should do that, like, sometimes you got to drop your pride and be open to receiving some kind of like, suggestions, or we should do things like this, and be like, no, I like my idea better. Because there's arguments that happen, or debates where it's like, look, I should do this, and and be like, honey, that's such a stupid idea, You got to be like, well, let's talk about it. Let's go through the pros and cons of every situation, and just kind of come up with whatever we think as a group collectively is going to be best for the marriage, for the interest, for the kids, whatever it is you guys are talking about, the business. And let your pride down. And sometimes, you can't take the win home every time. Yeah. Like, you got to go home with a loss and be like, man, she had a better idea than I had.
Yeah. As I get older, I definitely think that's a lot easier to do as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I think as people mature and you give the win to the other team every once in a while, like, you start to realize, like, oh, you know what? I should have been doing this a long time ago. Yeah.
Oh, and that's the thing too, is I'm a pretty intelligent human being, but she's much smarter than I am. So a lot of the times I'm probably like, man, this is just some kind of selfish arrogance that I have.
Yeah, it is. And our pride, like I said, it gets the best of us sometimes.
Always. Yeah. So transitioning from that, man, is that like so obviously Ready Gunner popped out. Where did the 2A media come from? And honestly, how did, I'm always fascinated by how some of the guys in the soft community have kind of taken, what they've put into the community and then given it back in a different form. And you seem to be like one of the main guys who's kind of done that. You have this following, you kind of, what you kind of got out and you knew like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And now you're able, through Instagram and through other media sources, you've been able to kind of build this brand for yourself.
Yeah, so we started Ready Gunner. I mean, the 2A media marketing is kind of something that just kind of, evolved on its own with a little bit of effort from our side. But so we started Ready Gunner back in 2010, and like I told you before, it was a gun store. This is pre Sandy Hook. I was running it out of my basement at my home. I lived in a community that was controlled by like a homeowners association. And I was selling guns out of my basement. And first of all, it was just buddies. And my buddies started to tell their friends. And it evolved into this thing where like I had all these people buying guns out of my basement. And the homeowners association committee was like, is Neal selling guns out of his basement? And I was fully licensed. I had my FFL. Like everything was legal. Like I wasn't doing anything illegal. Yeah. But just the people who aren't familiar with the industry or how it works, it's like, this guy's selling guns out of his basement. Anyway, it made him nervous. And I'm like, look, here's my license. This is my business license. This is my federal firearms license. I have all the paperwork to be able to do this legally. Like, there's nothing wrong with running a gun store out of your basement.
Right.
Anyway, but they just were offish enough. They kind of made them nervous. So I ended up moving to a little warehouse. It was by appointment only. I had a full-time job I was working on the side, and Ready Gunner was just kind of a side gig. I had about $70,000 in inventory. Sandy Hook happened, a super unfortunate event. I even hate talking about it because it was such a sad thing. But I sold out of my inventory the next day and had to close up shop because nobody else would get, like, people were buying guns so rampantly that I couldn't get inventory from anybody. And I was Mr. Little Guy on the totem pole that everyone was like, look, I can't sell you an AR-15. I got no 223 ammo. I got nothing to give you, because we're sending all that to your Cabela's and your big gun stores and all these other guys who've been doing business with us for years. Like, you're just some guy who started a business a year ago and ran it out of your basement. Like, sorry, we got nothing. So I essentially, other than like onesie twosie sales here and there, had to shut down my business for 6 months. And as soon as inventory became available again, we opened a store in Provo. It was a little 1,000 square foot store. We had open hours Monday through Saturday, and ran that for about 3 years until we moved up to this 20,000 square foot location up in Orem, where we built the shooting range and everything else.
Nice.
Anyway, going back to 2A media marketing, we're like, well, we got to market our business. So we had a Facebook page for Ready Gunner that we started, and it was doing great. We were getting hundreds of thousands of views, and our following was growing like exponentially every single week. Overnight, Instagram or Facebook said, hey, look, no more gun sales on Facebook. They shut it off, and our following like started decreasing. Our views went from literally 100,000 to like 1,000 views overnight. And we're like, man, that sucks. And Casey, my wife, was like, hey, well, you should look at Instagram. Instagram's another social media platform. And I didn't really know a lot about social media back at the time.
Same.
So we started an Instagram account for Ready Gunner and started pushing it on Instagram. And same thing, we were killing it. Like, we were doing these giveaways and teaming up with other pages. There was a page called AR-15 News at the time that we teamed up with and did these big giveaways. And we were growing like 10,000 plus followers a week, if not more. And we teamed up with these other big pages like Firearms and Gun Freaks, and we were paying these guys, since Instagram wouldn't let us boost our post. They weren't restricting us, but they wouldn't let us boost our post. We paid all these other big gun pages like Gun Freaks and Firearms to basically boost our content for us and say, hey, do a post. I'll pay you $500 or whatever it is to do like 3 posts for Ready Gunner.
Right.
And they would do it, and our page would blow up. Anyway, I got to the point where I was spending tens of thousands of dollars a year, if not more, on marketing with other Instagram pages. And I'm like, I wonder what it would cost to buy one of those pages, or if they would even consider selling it. So I just hit them up on a DM and said, hey, would you consider selling your page? And this is Gun Freaks was the first page I bought, and they had about 1.7 million followers.
Nice.
Or 1.6 at the time or something. It's one of the biggest pages on Instagram for guns. And they came back with this astronomical number.
Of course.
Like, holy shit. Like, holy shit. Like, I was thinking maybe like $5,000.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was nowhere in the ballpark of that. And I'm like, no way in hell am I spending that much money on a page. Anyway, like a week later, I was crunching the numbers, and I'm like, man, I'm actually spending a ton of money on here. So I hit him back up and I said, hey, look, what do you make on your page for marketing? And he gave me a number, and obviously I didn't have anything to back this up. He didn't provide any kind of financials.
Right.
But the number he told me was the same number he asked for the purchase price. And I'm like, so essentially you're telling me you would sell this page for a 1X cost of what is your business, your marketing business. I didn't tell him that because I don't want to scare him off, but nobody sells their business for 1X. You know?
Right. No.
Like I'm not going to sell Ready Gunner for my profits of 1 year. Like I would never do that.
It's going to be at least a decade or more.
Yeah. 3X minimum. Anyway, I'm like, well, okay. So anyway, I told him I'd buy the page. I'm like, I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to spend this money and I'm going to throw it out. And it went through escrow because I didn't trust him for me to send him all this money, or for him, he didn't trust me to give me the username and password. So I hired an escrow company, just like you would a house. I sent the money to escrow. He sent the username and password to this escrow company, and we exchanged it that way. And we made our money back on that first page in about, I think it was about 4 months.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
4 months return on that, because he wasn't lying about the numbers. We started marketing for other people, and people DM that page all the time and say, hey, will you do an ad for me?
So was he just wanting to get out of the business, or did he just not know?
I don't think he knew.
That's fair. Yeah.
But he actually owned another page, Firearms. So at Firearms is the biggest gun page on Instagram. It's number one. It's like 2.1 million followers or something like that. The biggest gun page on the gram. I DM'd that guy and I said, look, I'll buy this page from you. What are you looking to sell it for? Once again, an astronomical number, but now I have some historical data to go off and be like, you know what? I've already made my money back on this other page.
Right.
It's a crazy number. Obviously, you still negotiate for a lower price, which we did. And I think we got like a 10K reduction on it and ended up buying that one. And then I went down like this spree of buying pages off Instagram where I was just DMing the whole world. I'm like, I'll buy your page. I'll buy your page. I'll buy your page. And I was buying pages anywhere from like 10,000 followers up to the Firearms of like 2.1, 2.2 million followers. And so I acquired all these little ones that have like 200,000, like 2.8 gun, another 300,000 weapons page, Gun Freaks, Firearms. I bought at Cowboy. And then I started buying all these like unique names like at Weapons, at Soldiers, at Navy SEAL. And we essentially built this company of all these Instagram pages. And we started an LLC called the 2A Media Marketing and put all these pages under that business. And now we market for people who are in this gun space who can't get their pages boosted or do ads with Instagram or anybody else. And now we're boosting it for them through our pages. And we have people on yearly plans like Tar Firearms, Lockers, Birchwood, Casey, and all these big brands that we market for on there.
That's absolutely genius. Where did that idea even come from? Like I got the backstory you just got, but where were you at when you were just sitting and were like, you know what, dude, let's just start buying some pages. Like, where did that even come from?
Honestly, because it's what I was doing for Ready Gunner, right?
That's fair,
so my only source to market through social media, and I had the inside out, obviously, as a customer from the other end, owning Ready Gunner as a retail store, was like, look, I need to be able to market my company. I'm like, look, if I was thinking that way to market Ready Gunner, there's going to be other people and other companies who are in the same space as me who have the same problems and the same inability to market or boost their ads. So I can provide a platform for all these other pages for me to boost their stuff for them, whether it's new product launches or they need to grow their following or get eyes on a new product they're launching and say, hey, look, we have this new gun, press releases, whatever it is. Like we have the platform of like 7 million plus followers now to do that.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
So it basically just came from me having to do it myself that gave me the insight like, man, I could turn this into a business.
That's absolutely
and then market my own brand as well.
Yeah. So total, just business as far as that goes. But I kind of, when we talked about that, that was kind of like the way that we were going to, is that I had like this umbrella idea that I was doing for a lot of stuff, for like podcast under us and like business going under us as far as apparel and like where they're doing and how I started marketing with a lot of people. But I kind of knew that we had something as far as how the podcast world was going, because dude, we're still 10 years away. And I use this as kind of like a vessel. We're getting into other ventures and stuff like that now that we have coming out. But about 6 months in, I did not realize how many viewers I was getting. Like analytically, I realized it. I didn't know the number scale, right? I didn't have anything to compare it with. I'd never done this before. I had no idea, like, even what I was doing, really. I was just trial by fire. And I was talking to somebody and I told them, they were like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I've been around 6 months and, we're at like, over 20,000 views now, or about 30,000 views. And, the dude I was talking to, he's another, he's like a self-help military podcast as well. And he was like, what do you mean you have like 30,000 views? And I was like, I have 30,000 downloads. Like I have 30,000 views. And he was like, can you send me your analytics, man? Just like a screenshot, if you don't mind. He was like, not that I don't believe you. I'm just, that's fucking weird to me. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I screenshotted in my stuff and sent it to him. Right. And he was like, dude, I've been doing this for 2 years and I have half the views that you have, like not even close to half. And he was like, I think you may be onto something more than you know, right? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. It was about 2 weeks after I had this conversation and I kind of just blew it off. And about 2 weeks later, I got this email, basically how you're describing, you reaching out to people. And it was like, hey man, came across your Instagram. Just curious, is there any way you could kind of send us some analytics for your podcast? Because I noticed that you just started 6 months ago, or your first release date was 6 months ago, but you guys just ranked in the top 100. And at the time it was top 75 in the United States. And he was like, but you only have 300 and some Instagram followers. So like, I'm baffled, like is basically what he was saying. And I was like, yeah, sure, dude, I'll send it to you, like whatever. And what was happening is that we were having a bunch of international listeners. And so like right now we're top 10 in Ireland, Australia, and England, and we're top 50 in America, which is fine. But he sent me a message back and was like, and this is it kind of blew my mind because I was in the same position you were as far as numbers wise, right? He sends me this thing back and he's like, hey man, for 51% of your company, I'll give you $50,000 and a 17% interest buyback off of all finances you make, from this point forward. And I was like, you'll give me $50,000 to own the podcast? And he was like, yeah, I'll give you 50 grand right now plus 17% buyback. He was like, cause I see that you're starting to do apparel and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I am. And it just absolutely blew my mind, one, that would even happen. And two, I had already in my head kind of knew like, well, I'll make 50 grand back within a certain amount of time. And I was like, so I emailed him back and I was like, yeah, dude, sorry, I'm not interested. I'm kind of wanting to keep control. I just started the LLC. Like I'm just starting to move out. But that was the first eye opener to me about how lost I was in the sauce about how people do analytics and how they actually see the data portrayed in front of them and what the value of it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes back to every customer's got a dollar, dollar amount assigned to them, right? Whether it's email campaigns, like one email is worth X amount of dollars to everybody, right? So that's how people calculate these things. When I was buying an Instagram page, it was kind of hard because we have no reference or anybody to talk to where it's like, hey, so what is a follower worth on Instagram?
Right.
And if you have 2 million followers, what does that equal to as far as worth as a business if we were to buy that? So it was kind of a shot in the dark for us. I kind of went off email campaign numbers where it's like, look, if you have an email, it's worth, and I can't remember what the number was, but it's like, I don't know, like $1.70 or whatever it was. So, I was kind of fudging the numbers and we kind of ran our own little pro formas and ran all these little things as far as like, okay, so 2 million followers, the engagement is this, you get this many views, and it's hard not to with Instagram and how they limit things, and
yes,
it's like you have a video that gets 10 million views and you got another one that gets like 1 million views. So it's kind of like this wide range of impressions / engagement you get on your page, but it all comes down to the content, and that's what we tell our customers, like content is key.
Yeah,
content is key. Like if you guys have shitty content and it doesn't matter if I post it on a page with 100 million people on it. Like if it's a shitty photo, and people can't engage with it,
yep.
then it's going to do crappy. Like, you need to put out good content.
Yep. Yeah, you have to at some point. The one thing that we've known, I mean, and you're right. You look at different things as far as content, right, and what you're putting out. And I guarantee you, like, I'll put a photo of you up today on our page, right, and I bet it'll be one of our top 5, if not, or top 10, if not top 5, most liked photos. Whereas if I put up a photo of just one of my regular ass dudes at a range shooting in my t-shirt that we're trying to sell, it'll be one of my least liked, because people somewhat vicariously want to live through the soft community. And so they see dudes like you and they're like, dude, look at this fucking badass. You know, that's really what goes through their head. You know, like, look at this fucking badass, man. I want to be that dude. And they just double like it, just like it's nothing. I find it interesting because there's so much that dude, I mean, literally, I'm sure there are books out there. I haven't read them, but you could write a book on social media marketing and all the algorithms that go into it and how it works and what is seen. It's wild, man. Like, we get people in here and it's like, I can tell you in a day, like, we had that account the other day that shared us, and it was like 260,000, right? Well, off of 260,000, we only get about 100 followers back off that. But when you're talking about a page that's at 2,000 followers, getting 100 followers is huge. It's absolutely huge. So we see, you know, when you guys share us on your guys' stories or your guys' page, and that's the other thing too, is you talk about stories versus post. We get way more content off of people that we bring on making posts versus if they make stories. More people are more likely to click on posts than they are stories. It's a beast, man. It's weird.
Yeah, you got to do both. I mean, you got to feed the machine, and the more channels you have linked together, where it's like, look, I got my podcast that's linked to my YouTube channel, that's linked to my Instagram channel, that's linked to my Facebook channel, and it's all kind of feeding each other. And that's what we do with our pages. Like, we have this cowboy page we've been trying to grow, and the cowboy page is actually Casey's favorite. She's the one who manages it. It's beautiful photos of, like, ranchers and farmers and cowboys and cowwomen out or cowgirls, cowwomen, cowgirls, whatever you call them.
What's it called?
And at Cowboy.
Oh, it's actually well, I'm following it right now. I'm curious about this. So yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. So at Cowboy, and we're not even monetizing that one now. We're just trying to build it to the point where we can. And it's not even a business page. It's still a personal page. But, like, if you go to firearms, you'll see that we just posted or reposted one of the Cowboy posts is a story on firearms, which is 2 million because the cowboy's holding a gun. Right.
Right.
So to try to be like, oh, let me click on that Cowboy page. That's a cool lever action rifle that cowboy's holding, and be like, oh, this is actually a pretty cool page. Let me follow it.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, there's a ton of ways. And the other thing too is we work with a lot of people in the community. We work with, like, Black Rifle Coffee, with Crispy, and all these other people who have followings, and we kind of help each other out. Where, like, Crispy will do a post of him holding a gun and tag a ready gun or tag firearms, and then we're like, that's a cool picture of Crispy in front of his safe with all these guns, and we'll post it on firearms and kind of help, you know, Crispy out.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of this mutual effort and network of us helping each other out in the community and helping grow the following. And
no, that's the same thing we do too. Like, I mean, and like I was saying, you could tell, I can always tell an uptick when something's shared on ours. You know, we bring guys on and they share our stuff, but we're starting to get into the point now to where we're making relationships within this community that we have. And it's no longer just podcast related stuff. Like, I just saw the other day that Hard to Kill Fitness put up a photo and they tagged like 4 companies in it, and ours just happened to be one of them. And I was like, oh, okay, dope. That's awesome. You know, appreciate that. But we're starting to see that more and more as you start seeing, you know, different companies like this giveaway that we're doing we're doing a first responder giveaway next week. Right. And, you know, when it first started out, when I first started doing these giveaways on the podcast, which also Instagram frowns upon, it was just companies that were sponsoring the podcast. You know, we have like 9 companies now that sponsor us, and it was just those guys. Now you're starting to see, like, I mean, we got stuff coming from the Musa store, Fieldcraft Survival's throwing some stuff out, like guys that I have on the podcast who actually end up like being like, oh, okay, you're not a douchebag, I won't mind helping you out. They're very cool with helping us out, and I love it. Because the veteran community, man, it can be some dog eat dog kind of stuff, but I feel like as long as you're not just like a dickhead to everybody and you actually try to help each other out, like people appreciate that. And I try to be genuine and upfront with everybody who comes on, because I appreciate, you know, like when I reach out to you, man, I appreciate you coming on, and whether, you know, hopefully it helps your brand, you know, you guys like you help us out because one, it's good conversation. Our viewers love it. And at the same time, like, man, it solidifies us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm all about creating relationships. I'm all about being open, meeting new people. I mean, it never hurts to be on a podcast or to, help each other out on Instagram. There are a few, and I wouldn't say it's the most, but the minority of people, there are some people with some big pages in the space who are kind of arrogant and feel like they treat their following like this is our following. We're not sharing our following with anybody. And it's like, man, all your followers probably already follow at least one of my pages.
Yes, exactly.
It's more beneficial for you, but there are those people, but it's far and in between. Most people are pretty open to like networking and helping each other out.
Yeah, I feel like they are too. We see it quite often. It's funny because I tell, like, when I talk to people, I think for me, I'm not jaded at all. And I've been around, the Green Beret and the Ranger Regiment for a while now with these guys talking and meeting people, but for the average person, when there's still this aura around you guys, and so, and not that it's not warranted. It's just, it's cool to me because when I get you guys on, I still get excited about this stuff. Like when you and I were DMing and I was bringing you on, this is probably the side of the podcast people don't see and I don't talk to anybody about, but I was bringing you on, I screenshot it, man. And I immediately send it to our business group, and I'm like, fuck guys, I got Neal, and so for us, it's funny because I still at a certain point fanboy over this, you know what I'm saying? I still put people out there and I still have goals, almost like a target list almost that I'm like, man, I really want to talk to this guy. I really want to bring this person on. I really want to see what they have to say. And I'm always pleasantly surprised because I bring you guys on and you're like genuine, like actually like good dudes, man. I have not met a person yet who like I've got on and I've been like, man, I would not have another conversation with that person.
Yeah. And that's awesome to hear, man. That's, like I said, we're better off as mankind helping each other out. Like there doesn't need to be animosity or competition. And, I'm in one of the most saturated markets for gun stores here in Utah County. So I literally have 6 gun stores within probably 4 miles of me.
Right.
And it does make it tough, but one of the policies we have here at the store with the sales guys, and this goes back to social media and just your relationship with just people in general, where it's like, hey, we don't talk about that. We don't talk bad about other gun stores. If somebody comes in, which it happens, people come in, they're like, man, I was just down at so-and-so's gun stores. They were treating me like shit. They didn't help me. They insulted me, whatever it is. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, sorry you had a bad experience. What is it we can do for you to help you out?
Right.
Like don't chime in and be like, oh yeah, that gun store sucks, man. They're a bunch of dicks. Why would you even go there? Like, we don't do that. We don't need to spread negativity. Just say, what is it I can do for you? Sorry you had a bad experience. Hopefully we can help you out.
Yeah, no, we do the same thing, man. And for me, it doesn't do any good. I would not say I'm irrelevant by any means. I have a pretty big reach as far as what we talk about in the podcast community, but we have, and I won't drop any podcast names, but there's a pretty big military podcast out there and we do, we've had some of their guys reach out that come on, and like, hey man, is there any way we could send our podcast to you guys for editing? Because we don't know what we're doing. And we're trying to get this stuff done, and they have a way larger view than us. But for us, we're like, yeah, man, we'll definitely help you guys out. And they, and on the same flim, they don't talk poorly about us. I don't know anyone right now that's in our market, and we're saturated as shit too. Any type of veteran led anything is become saturated. I think that we have done a very good job of trying to be friendly with other people and helping other people out. And like I said, we've gotten messages from people that, with literally hundreds of thousand followers, and they're like, hey man, I can't figure out how to set this microphone up. Can you FaceTime me right now and please help me out? And I'm like, yeah, dude, hang on. Or I'll be like, hey, here's Corey's number, dude. Here, call Corey. He'll help you out with any sound engineering stuff you have. And for us, it just validates what we're doing because, we have such a small following, but we have a lot of viewers and our podcasts are actually pretty good. So we appreciate that when people reach out to us.
Yeah, that would be me. That would be me. Hey, how does this microphone thing work?
Well, it was so funny. I got this message and I thought that this dude was fucking with me, like dead serious. And he literally was like, hey man, can we kind of like hire you guys to help us out? Because like we don't know what we're doing. And like, I click on his page and then I click on the page that he's representing. And I'm like, your guys' combined followers is like 600 times mine, easily 600,000 times mine, excuse me, easily. And I'm like, yeah, dude. Yeah, sure. We could help you out, you know? And it's crazy because in the market, like nobody's ever going to know that we're the ones editing their stuff. We never asked for anything like that, you know? But at the same time, it was just kind of cool that we got looked at like that. And like I said, man, it's a testament to us growing. You know, I never thought that we'd be a top 50 podcast in the nation. I never thought that would happen. You know, I've told, you know,
and that's totally normal in scaling a business. You know, you get to the point where it's like, yeah, I don't know how to do any of this.
Oh,
right?
no.
I don't take the pictures that you see on my Instagram pages. I don't do the videos, you know, like when we started Tui Media, I got to the point where it's like, I can't do this shit alone. Like, I don't know how to do half this stuff. Like I just started the business and I came up with the idea, but then I had to go hire like a full-time photographer. I have a full-time videographer. You know, we have a project manager gal who's working and doing our account management for our customers. Like, I don't know how to do it. I got to go hire people who know how to do this so we can scale this business to what we want it to be. Like, that's not me. I'm just the guy with the idea.
No, that's our next thing is that we're getting ready. Like Corey, you know, it's funny. I put our first episode out on SoundCloud, right? And Corey, who was a former soldier of mine, messaged me and he was like, "Hey man, can you please, I'll do it for free. Send me your episodes because you have a lot of good content, excuse me, but they suck." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, dude." And he was like, "Yeah, because your audio blows, man." He was like, "I don't know what you're recording on or what you're doing." You know, and the next thing you know, we got our own studio set up, we got all this stuff, but I'm learning on the fly too, man. It's wow. But that's our next thing is like, I'm going to have to bring somebody in to do our YouTube videos and somebody in to do our videography. Because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, dude. I'm over here like trial by fire, just learning. You know, I got Sam in here now, who's our COO. He runs the website stuff. I'm literally like a Neanderthal with a couple microphones.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, that's awesome. And that's how it is. You get to the point where it's like you outgrow yourself and you need to bring in, you know, people who are better than you.
Yeah.
In certain areas.
They reached out to me. I told you I did that magazine thing a couple weeks ago. And then the university here reached out to me to do a digital influencer live feed for them. And I was like, "You want me to do a digital influencer live feed?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I hop on and I'm like, "Yeah, if there's anything I can tell you is like there are two things that you need. You got to have good content. And even if even if you're not getting the viewings that you want at first, just keep putting out good content." And then I was like, and number two, surround yourself with people you can trust and who are willing to like actually help you do the work because I mean, dude, unless you're just doing like, you know, you're hot and you're just putting up Instagram photos of yourself that you take. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. But if you're trying to run a business with actual marketing and actual apparel, or in your case, actual gun sales, there's so much more to it. You can't just get by taking photos of yourself. Like it's not, you're going to drown in the market that you're in.
Yeah, like I said, man, content is key. And we've had customers that are like, "Hey, we want to market this." They send us this picture and like, there is no way for you and for ourselves that we are posting that picture. Like send us the product, we'll take the picture for you, you know, or like, "Hey, take this picture, make it look like this, like your lighting sucks," whatever it is. Obviously we're a little more, you know, kind in our words when we talk to people, but at the end of the day, it all means the same. And this is my favorite one. Like there's this page and it's a gun business. It's a gun business trying to sell guns. And they're like, "Hey, we want to get on one of your marketing platforms. We want to sign up for like the 6-month plan." We're like, "Awesome, let's do it. Here's the contract. This is how it works." I'm like, "Sweet." I go to his page and it's like a bunch of pictures of him and his cat. And I'm like, "So is this your personal page or is this your business page?" And they're like, "No, that's my business page." I'm like, "Hey, like, no offense, man, but nobody wants to see pictures of you and your cat."
Yeah.
And so, but you got to be like, it's like, look, this is like, if you want to keep that page, make it your personal page. That's what I would do. It looks more like a personal page anyway. And let's start fresh with the new business page. And this is what we recommend. Like, do this. You can name it this. And let's throw like 20 good photos on there just so you have something or some foundation for people to see. And then we'll start building that following, you know?
Yeah.
But so we don't just market for people. We kind of consult as well, and I think a lot of people need it because it is just like you said with setting up a microphone on a podcast. Like there's a lot of things that are unknown to most people.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know how impressions work or engagement works or what I need to throw on there. Like
yeah. No, we see it all the time, man. I do not have an audio background. So my dumbass trying to set up these mics and this interface with this software, I'm over here. I mean, dude, I had to, when we first moved from the studio to the house for the quarantine stuff, I had Travis coming on from Alpha Elite and had to cancel on him 2 days in a row because I was missing cables and stuff I didn't even know I needed, man. And I'm over here FaceTiming Corey, like, what am I doing? I don't need this software. Doesn't make any sense. What do these numbers mean? And he, of course, he's like, well, it means this, dude. And I'm like, I don't know these things, man. I'm the guy with the voice, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. It's a beast. I love following your guys' pages though, because it's absolutely, and I'm glad now that I know that you were just out here buying pages up. That makes me so happy. It's just such a monopoly, dude. That's amazing.
The thing is, you can't like right now, like if you're someone in the gun world and you're like, hey, I'm going to start an Instagram page. It's like, cool, you go start it. Trying to grow that page is almost impossible these days without help from other people.
Right.
And I want to say like literally almost impossible.
Would you ever sell the firearms page?
No, I wouldn't. If anything, I would sell the whole 2A media marketing business with like a dozen pages in it.
Dude, you know, I'm not even going to get into numbers on that because that would be absolutely, you want to talk about astronomical.
I think if I told people the number, they'd be like, holy shit, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, you bought an Instagram page for what?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it works.
You monetize it and you make it work, and it's been awesome. You know, it's been the whole other business now, but essentially we market Ready Gunner through it and for like a dozen other big companies in the gun world. So we love doing it. It's actually one of my favorite businesses. You get to meet a lot of people, network, and you know, a lot of companies sell us or send us cool product to see and new product launches. We've done a lot of videos for, you know, people like Glock and Bretta here in the range with, there's another company called Tag Gas, which does like big video production and film for, a lot of these big companies. And it's like a lot of the banners and stuff you see at SHOT Show is done by this company called Tag Gas, Jim Staley up in,
nice.
in Salt Lake. So
nice. Well, Neal, man, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got to get back to business, and so do I. You want to just go ahead and plug everything that you got going on? I mean, I know, Ready Gunner, 2A Media. Is there any other pages out there? I went and followed the Cowboy page. You guys already got 100,000 followers.
Yeah. So so here's my last funny story. So my Instagram page, Neal, Neal. It's just my first name. Everyone's like, hey, what's your Instagram name? I'm like, oh, it's @Neal. And they're like, okay, but like, what is it? I'm like, no, it's @Neal, like @Neal, like my first name. They're like, how the hell did you get your first name?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing. When I was down this rabbit hole of buying Instagram pages, I'm like, I'm going to go see if Neal is available. And it was this guy, he was an artist, and he had the @Neal, and obviously his name was Neal. And I'm like, look, man, I'll buy that page from you. How much? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Like, make me an offer. I'm like, and this one I totally lowballed. I'm like, I'll give you $250 for it. And he's like, what? Are you kidding me? You're going to give me $250?
Yeah.
I thought he was going to tell me to like take a hike.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'll PayPal you right now. Just give me the username or just give me the password to your page. I'll go go change the name to your page, and I'll go snag the Neal as soon as it becomes available. He's like, yeah, done, man. Here's my PayPal. So I PayPal'd him $250. He changed his Instagram name, and I went and quickly grabbed it and changed my name to @Neal, and it was done.
Just out here DM hustling everybody, dude.
It's just business. It's business. Like that's
business.
What 2A media marketing is. But yeah, so mine's @Neal. My wife's @Buff Cookie, and then we got @Ready Gunner, @Firearms, @Weapons Page, @2A Gun, @Cowboy. But yeah, there's some more too. @Gun Freaks.
Follow them all, man. Hop on all of them.
Follow them all.
I think I follow them all at least. Yeah, dude.
If you like guns, go follow them. If you don't like guns, you probably won't like the pages. But
well, if you don't like guns, just go try firing one.
Yeah, you're probably not even on this podcast.
Probably, honestly, if you don't like guns, you're probably not listening to this podcast.
You're not listening to this. Yeah.
Neal, dude, thank you
Well,
so
dude,
much,
I
man.
appreciate you having me on. It's been an honor. You guys are awesome. Thanks for all you do as well.
Hey, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it. I'll let you get back to work, and dude, hope to have you on again sometime. This was fun.
Yeah, please do. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I will too. Hey, guys, thank you so much, man. I appreciate Neal coming on, dude. Go follow Ready Gunner, 2A Media, all their whole stuff. And, hopefully we keep kicking these off, keep giving you good episodes. I appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
This episode is fueled by Frontier Coffee. Family owned, family operated. Fresh roasted coffee inspired by America's Wild West legends. Find Frontier on Facebook, Instagram, and online at frontiercoffee.com. Wake up and be legendary.